Hi, Dale Titus here. Today's 2-minute bass lesson, I'm going to start a series where I talk about studio tools. And I have to kind of apologize to some of the guys who emailed me several weeks ago asking me to talk about like what stuff I take in the studio and some ideas for making better recordings for the bass. I initially loved this idea because I was actually kind of born in the studio. I got a bass, I started touring a little bit, playing with some bands, and then within the first year, actually I got asked to be the house bassist for a studio in my hometown. And I learned a lot and made a lot of mistakes, but it did help me. And then when I moved down to Los Angeles, I actually did a lot of media studio recording and did a few albums, but mostly I was doing TV commercials, radio spots, things like that. So I developed a bunch of techniques and tools that I like to take in. So when I initially tried to answer that question on the 2-minute bass lesson, it was 10.5 minutes long, and in no way we edited it, did it work, and we try to stick to a 5-minute max on these lessons. So instead I decided that I'm going to just talk about one tool or one technique at a time. So this is Studio Tools Part 1. And when I looked at all my stuff, I actually have a satchel kind of bag that opens up like a clamshell, and I have all my toys that I take in the studio in that bag. And when I open it up and look, there's one tool I was drawn to more than any of the others that I think is absolutely required, and I won't go in the studio without it. And that is this little pedal by a company called Lehle. Now it's L-E-H-L-E, it's Lehle. And they make some of the best, I think the best, switchers and drivers, line drivers in the industry. Now how do I use this? Why is this so important? It's just a little box. Heck, it doesn't even plug in. It's passive. That's what the P stands for, passive splitter. But as you might imagine, it's a splitting device, which means I can plug my bass in and then take one out and go to my amp and one out and go to a mixing board. And that's the most common scenario that I use it, because I like to, when I'm recording, I like to have the organic earthiness of my Aguilar, but I also want that really clean, pure, direct tone, because I can do a lot with that later. I can use plugins to add effects. I have basically just the bass tone note on that channel coming from the second out here. Now, you might be going, well, what's the, aren't splitters just splitters? And absolutely not. And I used to think that way. And I actually had my first splitter, I'm embarrassed to say, it came from Radio Shack, and it was a noise factory. It actually added a lot of hiss to my tone and a little bit of grit that I didn't like. And I blamed everything until I finally got down to that. So I was recommended to have the Lehle P-Split, and sure enough, it's dead nuts studio quiet. It's got a transformer in it. I'm not a technical guy. I can't totally get the electrical engineer skew on it, but they have a special transformers inside that just clean up your signal, and made my basses, now it's passive or active, made them sound so great by plugging in through this. Now I've used it live too. Same thing. If live, I might want to go straight to my amp and then maybe mic my amp, send that signal to the house mixer. But then I'll also take a direct line out of this into the snake, so he's got just the sound of my bass. So anyway, find yourself a good splitter to take in the studio. If you're going to a high-end studio, they're going to have gear there, but I never like to rely on it, and I also like to know how gear might affect the way you play, the way you sound, and this one is so transparent that I know it's not going to color my signal, and what they're getting is my bass sound. So anyway, experiment with them. Go to your local dealer, see if they have a Lehle P-Split that you can plug into. By the way, I have used it at times splitting and going to 2 different amps for live clinics where I might want to have some different colors. Anyway, it's just a great tool, and it's actually not too expensive, and it's built like a tank. You can't really hurt it. So for Studio Tools 1, I'm featuring the Lehle P-Split, which is in my gig bag always, and I just love it. Look for future Studio Tools segments where I'm going to talk about everything down to from highlighters to reason why I take a strobe tuner to every studio session. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any interest in looking up this company, it's a simple web address. It's lehle.com, L-E-H-L-E.com. There's an option for selecting the country because these are made in Germany, and you can select the English and then just watch the videos and check out all their gear. They have phenomenal stuff. So that's it. Guys that have emailed me requests about my studio tools, I'm sorry it's taken me this long, but we're going to do it in little small bites like this, and I hope you enjoy them. If you have questions about the gear, I'm welcome to offer any further explanation via email. So email me at dalet@dannybegood.com. Thanks a lot.